Yeah, I moved up from, my mom's from Illinois, but I grew up in Jersey. My dad was and after college, I came up here.
Oh yeah, no, there is.
Started working there. Yeah, I got Johnny Mish written all over my shirt. Right here. Nice to meet you. That's right. Hey, thanks for saying hello. How are you? I like your Colorado. Last time I saw him was,
How's that? Thank you so much. Yeah, whatever it takes. All right, good morning. It is 10:04. Welcome to the annual town meeting of June 20, 2020, COVID-19 edition. It being 10:04, we have a quorum. I will call the meeting to order. Return of the warrant shows that it has been properly served. Right now we have approximately 105 registered voters here, so thank you all very much for coming. Please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing thereafter for a moment of silence for all those we have lost since our last town meeting, and for those victims and their families who have suffered from racial and social injustices. Also for those people who are on the front lines battling the coronavirus. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce the people at the head tables. On my left, at the far end, Select Board Christian Stanley. Next is David Phil, Select Board Chair. David Nixon, Town Administrator. Joel Bard from KP Law, Town Council. In the front row, Jane Nevin-Smith, Select Board. And John Washkevich, Select Board. Joyce Chunglo, Select Board. To my right, in the front row, Amy Fiden, Finance Committee Chair. Alexei Levine, Finance Committee. Valerie Hood, Finance Committee. Dylan Mans, Finance Committee. Paul Benjamin, Finance Committee. And Jessica Spanknable, Town Clerk. I'm your moderator, Randy Iser. It looks like we got 100, 200 chairs out here. No big deal to set them up, but there's been people here since 7 o'clock this morning setting all this up, thinking about it for weeks, months to pull this meeting together. So right now I want to thank everybody who was here this morning. There's first the emergency people, DPW set this up. They did an excellent job. Let's see, what else? I'll deal with that other stuff later. Oh, Hadley Media, they did this. I can't believe that the sounds good. I'm assuming that everybody can hear me well. All right, so I'm going to try to keep everything short because of the heat and the COVID. So at this time, Select Board would like to dedicate the town report. Joyce Chunglo will do that, please.
The dedication of the 2019 annual report. The town of Hadley, with a break from tradition in acknowledgement of the current times that we as a world, nation, commonwealth, and town have endured during the COVID-19 pandemic. We proudly dedicate this annual report to you, our citizens, residents, students, media personnel, essential workers, emergency personnel, teachers, municipal employees, and the rest who stepped up and stayed home. We dedicate this report to you. Thank you.
Okay, now David Phil is going to present the Oakley Award. Not on. There you go.
Test. Okay. Ted and Merle Buckout are lifelong residents of Hockenham Village who are distinguished by their service to the community and country. They met and married just after World War II when Ted was a young Marine and Merle was completing her studies at UMass. Merle worked as a high school science teacher, including many years as a chemistry and earth science teacher at Hopkins Academy. She later worked in the Springfield office of the Department of Environmental Protection as an environmental analyst until her retirement. Merle has been active for decades in various town committees and organizations, most notably on the Cemetery Committee, the Friends of Mount Hoyle Grange, the Mount Hoyle Grange Advisory Committee, and the Hadley Historical Society. Ted served in the U.S. Marine Corps for more than 40 years, including active duty in Japan during World War II and stateside during the Korean conflict. Retiring in the reserves as a Chief Warrant Officer, Ted has been a dedicated runner participating in the first 9 Marine Corps marathons in Washington, D.C., and was the driving force in organizing and running the annual Summit Run on Mount Holyoke. He also has served as a member of the Friends of the Mount Holyoke Range and the Hadley Historical Society. Ted has assisted in upkeep of the Hockenham Cemetery and has been putting Memorial Day flags on veterans' graves at Hockenham for many years. The Buckouts and their 6 children all graduated from Hopkins Academy. Ted and Merle are often seen at community events at the Senior Center and church suppers. The Buckouts are yet another example of how fortunate we are in Hadley to have caring people dedicated to lifelong service and participation in the life of their community. So I wanted to dedicate or award the Fred W. Oakley Award, Junior Award to them for 2019.
The Buckouts are seated over there at the end of the bleachers. There's Ted. I forgot to mention one thing about the town report. The cover was painted by Stephen Kotfila, a student at Hopkins Academy. We're very fortunate to have such talent amongst us. Now, Select Board Chair Phil would like to give a short State of the Town report.
Christian started doing this a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago, and I thought it was a good idea to continue. This year's a little bit different, obviously. First, I wanted to say congratulations to the Hopkins Academy class of 2020. Although your senior year was probably very different than you envisioned, we're proud of your accomplishments and wish you luck in your future endeavors. Just like many of you in your personal and professional lives, the town of Hadley has seen unprecedented challenges over the last few months. Unlike a blizzard or a flood with a set duration, COVID-19 is a whole different animal. We are facing financial headwinds and have been forced to adopt to new ways of operating town government. Our fire and police chiefs haven't taken a day off since March. Our town hall employees have seamlessly transitioned to working at home, signing documents in socially distanced parking lots, delivering birth and marriage certificates to people's doorsteps, and teachers have been forced to teach online, something they've probably never imagined doing, especially at the elementary school level. I wanted to focus on the positives, though. The fact that our community has come together over the last few months to provide birthday parades, help seniors celebrate their graduations, and celebrate so many other milestones in the communities. You've probably seen the fire trucks and the police trucks going by and helping people to celebrate the best they can under the situation. Our Council on Aging, police, fire, and volunteers have been delivering groceries to seniors so they don't have to venture out to the stores. And finally, we're beginning to see the new normal here in town with businesses slowly reopening. And the town's doing what we can to get out of the way and help those businesses to prosper. The fact that we're all sitting here at an annual town meeting, although it's a bit warmer than usual, shows that we can overcome anything that stands in the way of Hadley moving forward. So I wanted to thank the town employees, volunteers, and especially all you as residents for coming out today. You are what makes Hadley special and what makes Hadley a great place to live. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go over the rules for conduct at the meeting. It's going to be a little different today. Most things are the same, but there's going to be a few differences. So the meeting, as usual, is conducted according to town meeting times. If you wish to speak to an article, stand where you're seated, please, and wait to be recognized by the moderator. Somebody will come to you with a microphone, which will be sanitized after each use. State your name and residential address each time you have been recognized to speak. Keep all comments relative to the article or motion at hand. Do not disrespect any person in any way, shape, or form. Do not refer to any previous speaker by name. Please use previous speaker instead. You may speak as many times as you feel is necessary, but please give others a chance to speak before returning to the microphone. If necessary, I will ask you to wait until others have had a chance to speak. Direct your comments to the moderator. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. All amendments must be submitted in writing to the moderator as soon as the amendment is offered. And please silence all your electronic devices, and from personal experience, keep them out of the sun. They don't like that very well. Okay, we're going to begin the meeting with the consent agenda. I will explain what the consent agenda is and then make the motion. So, the warrant articles on a consent agenda are exceptions to the general process of town meeting. The Select Board, Moderator, and Finance Committee identify for town meeting consideration those articles that they believe should generate no controversy and can be properly voted without debate. These articles are put on the consent agenda to allow motions under these articles to be acted upon as one unit and to be passed without debate. At the call of the consent agenda, the moderator will read out the numbers of the articles one by one. If one or more voters object to any particular article being included in the consent agenda, they shall say "hold" in a loud voice when the number is called. The article will be removed automatically from the consent agenda and restored to its original place in the warrant, to be debated and voted under the usual manner. After the calling of the individual items in the consent agenda, the moderator will ask for a motion that the voters pass all items remaining as a unit on one vote. Use of the consent agenda makes the town meeting more efficient by speeding up the handling of non-controversial items. The consent agenda also includes the procedural motion to allow department heads to address town meeting from time to time for information. That being said, the motion is moved that the town take Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 out of order, and that they may be passed by consent in accordance with the motions shown on the consent agenda distributed this morning, and further allow all officers, department heads, and agents of the town to address the town meeting on matters as may be informational. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Mr. Nixon will give a short explanation of the articles just in case anybody has any questions.
Good afternoon. Article 1 is a grants and gifts article. It provides the town the ability to accept and expend grant money without having to call a town meeting every time we need to spend money out of a grant. So this is purely administrative. Second is the Article 2 is the Chapter 90 program. We received about $365,000 a year from the state to keep our roads and bridges in good condition, and so this is giving the town the authority to spend that money. The third is for short-term borrowing on the part of the treasurer. Should we ever run into a cash flow problem and we need to get bills paid but we don't have the cash to do that, we can borrow within the fiscal year for future revenues to do this. We've never had to perform this operation, but it's a handy tool to have in the tool chest, just in case in times of need. Article 4 is the sweep article. It's where we take money from pots of project money that's no longer needed and return them to the original source. And it's also an opportunity for us to reduce borrowing authorization in case there's excess borrowing capacity. Just keeps the books nice and tidy. Article 5 is the CPA article extension on 2 projects, the Hopkins Plainfield project and Town Hall Column projects. These projects need additional time to be completed. There's a sunset provision on those authorizations, so this extends that timeline by another 2 years. Article 6 is to transfer $26,000 from the Water Reserve Fund to pay the 10-year down payment on water filtration units over at the water treatment plant. We need about $260,000 every 10 years. If we put away $26,000 per year, we can build up that fund, and then when we need to make that change, that repair, that replacement, that money will be there. And Article 7 is the administrative article for the Community Preservation Fund. It provides some operating money of $3,000 for occasional expenses, and sets aside at least 10% of the CPA funds for the 3 purposes that are required by law. Are there any questions?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving right along to Article 8. Moved that $17,831,935 be appropriated as recommended in individual general fund budgets listed in the handout, Finance Committee Budget Fiscal Year 2021, and as funding therefore raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the estimated amounts in Table A1 as presented at the June 20, 2020 Annual Town Meeting and incorporated by reference herein. So Table A, there's raise and appropriate $16,655,795. Free cash, $764,769. Interfund enterprise receipts, $407,999. MSBA debt fund reserve, $2,444. November 2014 premium balance, $928. Total revenue, $831,935. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Finance Committee and Mr. Nixon will discuss this. Okay, whatever you want to do. Good choice.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. This year's been a very tough year with budget season, as you can all imagine. The budget went back to the drawing board 3 times this year, so it took quite a bit of time. It may not be pretty, but it is balanced. The largest problem with the budget was the uncertainty that we had with the revenues. We were just guessing at that, so we are trying, just like every other town, plan for the worst and hope for the best. This year we had to put a hold on on any spending. We really tried to, any new spending, we put a hold on. No new positions were granted, such as we did not fund for a planner, which we wanted to do. Other departments were affected as well. All requests for increase in hours were also passed over this year. The typical increase we did with the school budget every year was cut dramatically. So OPEB was a big line item that we were unable to really fund much. The increases that we did do were just small, and those were increases to the reserve fund in the Finance Committee, so that we had for uninspected, if something came up, we could pay for that. Also, we increased what we were paying for debt, so that way if capital items came up, it would be a funding source under our debt. We're using some free cash this year, and now I'm going to go ahead and start reading you the line items for our expenses. So the town moderator, $100 for a total of $100. Select board, other salaries, $49,180. Expenses, $22,150. For a total of $71,330. Town administrator, salary, $128,483. Expenses, $1,850 for a total of $130,333. Finance committee, expenses, $170 for a total of $170. Reserve fund, $75,000 for a total of $75,000. Accountant, salaries and expenses, $115,000 or $115,208 for a total of $115,208. Assessors, other salaries, $70,654. Expenses, $20,940 for a total of $91,594. Treasurer, salaries, $80,907. Expenses, $13,670 for a total of $94,577. Tax collector, collector's salary, $64,456. Other salaries, $46,018. Expenses, $10,225 for a total of $120,699. Mr. Moderator, I move these line items.
Thank you. While they're cleaning the mic, I forgot to mention that the Finance Committee and the Select Board both recommend this article 5-0.
counsel. Legal expenses, $35,380, totaling $35,380. Human resources, salaries, $109,093. Expenses, $15,935, totaling $125,028. Town clerk salary, $62,517. Other salaries, $21,449. Expenses, $8,300, totaling $92,266. Board of Registrars, salaries, $9,620. Expenses, $11,150, totaling $20,770. Conservation Commission, expenses, $14,910, totaling $14,910. Planning Board, salary for the chair, $600. Salary for the clerk, $500. Members, $1,200. Other salaries, $5,907. Expenses, $9,530, totaling $17,737. Board of Appeals, salaries, $1,135. Expenses, $400, totaling $1,535. Insurance, property insurance is $146,173, totaling $146,173. Town buildings, Senior Center, $29,900. Town Hall, $83,228. Russell School, $1,000. Public Safety Complex, $46,048. Fire Substation, $14,500. Library, $19,242, totaling $193,918. Mr. Moderator, I move these amounts.
Thank you.
$1,325,212. Fire, salary, $532,922. Expenses, $194,405, for a total of $727,327. Communications Center, salary, $328,016. Expenses, $9,225, for a total of $337,241. Ambulance. Expenses, $290,718, for a total of $290,718. Building inspections. Salaries, $141,167. Expenses, $8,875, for a total of $150,042. School Department. Salaries and expenses, $7,370,801, for a total of $7,370,801. Highway construction, salaries, $462,209. Expenses, $317,804, for a total of $780,013. Snow and ice, salaries, $70,973. Expenses, $111,250, for a total of $182,223. Street lighting, $19,000. Expenses, for a total of $19,000. Highway building maintenance, salaries, $28,086. Expenses, $130,650. for a total of $158,736. Cemetery, salaries, $13,343. Expenses, $12,000 for a total of $25,343. Mr. Moderator, I move.
Thank you.
Board of Health, salary chair, $1,850, salary clerk, $1,650, member, $1,450, other salaries, $16,234, expenses, $33,480, for a total of $54,664. Council on Aging, salaries, $113,735, expenses, $5,870, for a total of $119,605. Veteran Services, expenses, $95,573, for a total of $95,573. Oliver Smith Will Elector stipend, $100, for a total of $100. Public Library, salaries, $152,382, expenses, $47,391, for a total of $199,773. Park Commission, commissioner salaries, none. Other salaries, $47,923, expenses, $13,762, for a total of $61,685. Historical Commission, expenses, $300, for a total of $300. Long-term debt, principal, $1,133,166. Interest, $353,444, for a total of $1,486,610. Benefits Department. Retirement, $1,421,611. Workers' comp, $78,000. Unemployment, $30,000. Health insurance, $1,368,000. Life insurance, $2,740. Medicare town share, $139,000. OPEB, $16,890. Accident insurance, $44,000, for a total of $3,100,241. The total general fund operating budget is $17,832,015. Mr. Moderator, I move these amounts.
Thank you. I have a question. Okay, on the recommended, okay, finance recommended, select board recommended, we got two different numbers and they don't jive with, one of them doesn't jive with the article, the motion. Yeah, but I believe Alexi said $17,832.15, and the motion was $17,831,935. So either I'm looking at something wrong, or this number and this number aren't the same. I realize they're different recommendations, but the motion is 831. Right, and they do, but you read that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm told the difference isn't going to matter in the ultimate budget. We've read through all the numbers. Does anybody have any questions?
I had a chance to email you back, but then I thought I saw you, so I thought I'd just ask. Yeah.
Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your cards.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Article 9. Moved that $931,709 recommended in the handout Finance Committee Budget Fiscal Year 2021 be appropriated to the Fiscal Year 2021 Wastewater Division Enterprise Fund to be expended for the respective purposes set forth, and as funding therefore, raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the estimated amounts in Table B1 as presented at the June 20, 2020 Annual Town Meeting and incorporated by reference herein. So, Table B, wastewater salaries, $324,124. Wastewater expenses, $468,800. Wastewater debt, $128,785. Wastewater reserve, $10,000, for a total expense of $931,709. This article is recommended 500 by the Finance Committee and the Select Board. Do I have a motion? Okay, got that one, and I got another part to it. And further, move that $1,123,362,000 recommended in the handout Finance Committee Budget Fiscal Year 2021 be appropriated to the Fiscal Year 2021 Water Enterprise Fund to be expended for the respective purposes set forth, and as funding therefore, raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the estimated amounts in Table B1 as presented at the June 20, 2020 Annual Town Meeting and incorporated by reference herein. So for the Water Division, water salaries, $430,023. Water expenses, $497,174. Water debt, $186,165. Water reserve, $10,000, for a total of $1,123,362, and further move that $68,055 recommended in the handout Finance Committee Budget Fiscal Year 2021 be appropriated to the Fiscal Year 2021 Hadley Media Enterprise Fund to be expended for the respective purposes set forth, and as funding therefore, raise and appropriate and transfer from available funds the estimated amounts in Table B1 as presented at the June 20, 2020 Annual Town Meeting and incorporated by reference herein. Hadley Media salaries, $58,150. Hadley Media expenses, $5,080. Hadley Media reserve, $4,825 for a total of $68,055. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I can't hear. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Finance Committee will explain this. Or who? Them. Okay. Paul Benjamin will explain.
As a running gag. Okay, so this is the wastewater division. Salaries, $324,124. Reserve fund is $10,000. Long-term debt, principal, and interest is $128,785. Other expenses are $468,800 for a total of $931,709. Everybody following? Good. Water division. Salaries, $430,023. Reserve fund, $10,000. Long-term debt, principal, and interest, $186,165. Other expenses, $497,174 for a total of $1,123,362. Okay. Cable TV public access salaries, $58,150. Reserve fund is $4,825, and expenses are $5,080 for a total of $68,055. Total enterprise vision is $2,123,126. Mr. Moderator, I move these amounts be accepted.
Thank you. Is that all, Paul? Is that the whole thing? Okay, that's fine. Anybody have, oh, you can go. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Oh, hang on, somebody will come to you with a microphone.
Anthony 585 Cold Spring Lane. I just was hoping to get an explanation on the cable TV public access salaries. So it got from 17,000 to 58,000. Can someone explain that one?
Who would like to tackle that? Mr. Nixon.
Classification of a vendor who we were treating as an employee. We were giving this vendor too much control over the operations of Hadley Media, and in order to keep us out of hot water with the IRS, we had to reclassify them.
Hang on, David.
Can you hear me now?
Start over.
Start over. Okay, thank you. This is a reclassification of a former vendor from FY20 to 21, reclassifying this person from a vendor to an employee. The purpose of that is so that this person can run the department more effectively without us getting the hot water with the Internal Revenue Service in terms of the deductions from payroll and so forth. So if you notice that the salary line item jumps, but the vendor expenses drop. So that's the change. Does that answer your question? We're not actually adding another. We're actually not adding another person. We're just reclassifying this as an employee for tax purposes.
Any other questions?
Parsons, 137 Mill Valley Road. I would like to know why the salaries under line item 450 Water Division jumped $67,699.
Is that yours, David? If you know how to explain, please do.
Water salaries changed here because we had to add a position in order to comply with.
Hang on, I don't think, can you hear him back there? No, that's not loud enough. I think you should probably come back over here. Get right up next to the mic.
Everybody hear me? Okay. So the water salaries jumped in order because we had to add a position and required by the Department of Environmental Protection. When they reviewed our operations, they wanted more bodies on the ground. So we added to our positions in order to comply with the state requirements. We also had a reclassification of a position in that department in order to improve our operations.
You okay with that answer, Sherry? You okay with the answer?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to Article 10. Move that the town transfer from free cash $15,000 to be used by the Board of Assessors in defending assessed values at the Appellate Tax Board. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Mr. Zadanek, are you going to speak to this? Get right up next to the mic.
This article is to cover the cost of preliminary expert appraisal work in connection with commercial property tax appraisals before the Appellate Tax Board. In order to testify as to the value of specialty commercial property before the ATB, you need to be considered an expert by the ATB. The office staff cannot testify as to the value of the property, only as to how the property was valued. Without expert testimony as to the value of the properties, we would be at a serious disadvantage in any case heard at the ATB. We had originally asked for $75,000 for this article to cover the full cost of a few major appeals that we anticipate getting in. But with the current economic climate in the town, we reduced it to $15,000. We feel that this is the amount that we will probably need in the next fiscal year to cover the beginning of a few cases that we anticipate getting. These funds will not be spent if we do not get the appraisals or need the expert testimony.
Thanks, sir. I forgot to mention that the Finance Committee and the Select Board both recommend this article 5-0. Are there any questions out there about this article? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 11. This article is recommended by the Finance Committee and the Select Board 5-0. It's Council on Aging Revolving Fund. Moved that the town amend Section 86-9 of Chapter 86 of the Code to establish the revolving fund for the Council on Aging and amend existing revolving funds as printed in the warrant as delineated in Article 11 of the Annual Town Meeting warrant for June 20, 2020 and incorporated by reference herein. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Jane Nevin-Smith will speak to this.
This is really a housekeeping article. In the past, we had contributions when we operated the van, but now we're charging a fee, and you can't have fees put into a revolving account. So it's simply changing one account to another.
Stay there just in case. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by raising your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 12 is transfers to various funds. Move that the town transfer funds as delineated in Article 12 of the annual town meeting warrant for June 20, 2020, and incorporated by reference herein. And those funds are amount to be transferred from free cash, $25,000 to the unemployment trust fund, and from free cash, $183,383 to the stabilization fund. Finance Committee and Select Board both recommend this 5-0. Do I have a motion? A second? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Nixon will explain this one, please.
Can everybody hear me? So this is part of our defensive strategy, thinking about the impact of COVID-19 on the local economy and thinking that we may have to be doing this for several years. We're taking surpluses and we're strategically putting them in other reserves in order to shore them up so that we will have those funds available this time next year should we need them. So we're putting them not aside in case we need to use this later on. There are no impact upon taxes or rates for this article.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Article 13. Article 13, there are two parts to it. We're going to vote on both parts. So, motion 13A, cash appropriation. Move that the town transfer $5,000 from Hadley Media Reserves to purchase audio-visual equipment for Hadley Media. $600 from free cash to install roadway signs promoting agriculture for the Agricultural Commission, and $65,000 from water reserves to install fences at the water tanks for the Department of Public Works. This article is recommended by the Capital Planning Committee, Finance Committee, and Select Board, all with nobody against it. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Select Board Member Stanley will speak to this, please.
Thank you. Just before I get into this, I do want to just take a quick acknowledgement of the impact systemic racism has had on our country and our community over the years, and just want to let people know that the town does have a civility and inclusion committee to discuss these issues and their impact on our community here in Hadley. We need members for this, so if you would like to join such a committee to have an impact on our town, you can email me, cstanley@hadleyma.org, and we can work on getting that established. We established it last year, but we don't have any members. All right, getting on. So Hadley Media Reserves, this is to purchase audiovisual equipment for Hadley Media. It's basically coming out of the Hadley Media Reserve budget. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that particular line item. $600 from free cash to install roadway signs promoting agriculture for the Agricultural Commission. These are signs that will go up in Hadley. I don't know if there's any representatives from the Agricultural Commission that want to talk about those signs.
I think I see somebody's hand behind an umbrella.
Is there someone?
I think so. Stand
yes.
up, please.
We'll bring a
Yeah, we'll bring a mic to you.
Hey, Matt Kushai, 196 River Drive. These signs are just basic right to farm signs, help promote the agricultural heritage in Hadley, and they will go in strategic locations on our main corridors in town, Route 9, Route 47, and these funds are just to design and implement this idea.
Thank you. questions on that particular line? All right, and then the last one right here is $65,000 from water reserves to install fences at the water tanks for the Department of Public Works. This is a mandate from the DEP, I believe, to remove trees and different items that are around our water tanks, both on Mount Holyoke and Mount Warner. Any questions there? Thank you for the applause. Yes. Hang on, wait. Somebody will come with a microphone. Oh, and I should say there's no impact on taxes with that too. It's coming out of water reserves. Right there. Well, yeah, we might get some feedback. Well, let's see what happens. Yes, we more than might. You can just move back. Ask me, and if it's not. Correct, like vegetation that's grown around the water tanks. Kristen, repeat what she said so everybody can hear. She asked to remove trees around the water tanks, and the answer is yes, to remove any kind of trees and vegetation around the water tanks that could fall on those water tanks. I don't know how big of a radius around the tanks. Does anybody know the answer to that question? John, do you know? The question was how far around the water tanks, or how close to the water tanks can these trees be that they're talking about having to cut down?
It's basically all small brush around the two water tanks where our supply comes from on Mount Holyoke and Mount Warner. It's basically all small brush. I don't believe there's any big trees that they need to take down. There's a certain area around that's all gravel that's protected anyway. But DEP recommended this fence for security reasons, which we never did the last time they came around on an inspection, so it needs to be done now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, sorry. Mr. Fiden, hang on. Oh, you're going to get feedback too, right? Just be respectful of your neighbor behind you. Thank you.
I just, Anthony Fiden, Cold Spring Lane. Going back to the Agricultural Commission right to farm signs, it's not a big expense, but it's just a general comment. We have too many signs. If you look around, there's signs everywhere that for different zones and different historical properties. It's really, if you start to count the signs, it's ridiculous. I don't think they're serving a purpose anymore. So there are too many of them, and there may be better ways to promote the agriculture. Maybe something online. And I just think that we should actually look at reducing some of the signage around, because it seems like between the street signs and the promotional signs, it's too much at this point. So I'm opposed to that small amount, just on that principle.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, we're voting on Article 13A, the three items that we just talked about. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 115 to 1. Article 13B, this is capital emergency generator borrowing within the levy. And all right, I'm assuming that the recommendations are the same for this article as the previous one. So capital planning, finance, and select board all are in favor. Nobody against. Move that the town appropriate $105,000 to pay costs of an emergency generator for the public safety complex for the fire department, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 7.1 of the general laws or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. Do I have a motion? I have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Mr. Stanley.
So this capital request is for a emergency generator for the entire public safety complex that's on East Street. This is going to be used for emergency power and will power the entire station, or so it's functional in the event of a power outage. This is to replace a generator that dates from the early 90s that was put in that public safety complex when it was built. We can no longer get parts for it, and it's becoming expensive for the town to repair and or rent an alternative generator to keep that station with capability to run in a power outage. So this generator will power that entire station. Any questions?
Okay. Got one? Okay. Somebody wait, hang on. We'll be back to see you. Yeah.
Hi, Taro Yamashita from Middle Street.
What number Middle Street, please?
110.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's the expected life expectancy of the new generator?
Chief, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's fine. So the existing generator right now, it was a 1992 model. So they estimate between 25 to 30 years of life expectancy. We have a maintenance contract annually, so they come out 2 to 3 times a year. And we also have a remote monitoring system that will be incorporated into the new generator if you vote on it. So we'll be able to monitor it and keep more accurate data as to how it's running. So the estimated life expectancy, unless we have a major, if I can't predict, if something should happen out of the ordinary, but normally it's 25 to 30 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we got one up front in the feedback zone.
Yeah, Sarah Strong, 205 Middle Street. I'm not taking issue with replacing the generator. I understand when something doesn't work anymore, you get a new one. But I'm wondering whether it's ever been considered to put solar panels on the roof and a backup battery system in the building so that at least some of the power could come from something like that. Just something to think about for the future, not necessarily to interfere with this article.
Okay, do you want anybody to respond to that, or are you just making a statement? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Got one in the back.
Shel Horowitz, 16 Barstow Lane. I would like to hear the answer to the previous speaker's question, if anybody can address it.
The previous speaker's question about solar? Okay, so the question was, has anybody considered solar panels and battery backup for...
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
So we do have a battery backup system as part of this generator. However, we have, the police chief and I have been discussing potential parking situation with actual solar incorporated into the roof of it. So we are in the process of looking into that right now. I don't have an answer on a time frame for that, but we are certainly looking into that as well.
Thank you.
And I would just like to say too that both the new senior center and the new library have the provisions to be able to put solar panels on them, and putting solar panels on both those buildings is in the makes right now. We still have to vote to put them on, but that is in the workings.
Okay, any other questions regarding the generator? Oh, Mr. Nixon would like to speak about solar.
So the town entered into an agreement with Nexamp, which is a solar developer, under the state solar credit program, SREC 1. And so right now that public safety complex, 21% of its electricity derives from solar, and we get a big discount for that expense. So we already have solar adding to the operations of the police station.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 14 is a town annual election date change. This article is going to be passed over, and Amy Fiden is going to explain why.
Okay, so Article 14 originally went on for a few reasons. One being the Finance Committee recommended it because we were looking to save the town money. Each election that the town clerk puts on is, you know, good $4,000. So that when a town meeting comes and we have to do a ballot afterwards because of a debt exclusion or something like that, so we're trying to combine the amount of times that we have to have elections. So that was the reason why we looked to put it afterwards. After speaking with the town clerk, we realized that this wording was not going to fix that, what we wanted the purpose of, to save the money. 1 week after town meeting was not enough time for her to put a ballot together. She needed closer to 40 days. So we decided to pass this over right now, so that way we could look at it a little more and come up with a better solution to make it more effective and hopefully reduce the amount of elections that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this while we've got it here? We're not going to vote on anything, but any concerns you'd like to get out there? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Oh, okay. So on Article 14, I'm told I need a motion to take no action. Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Article 15 is a Community Preservation Act article. And it is recommended by the Preservation Act Committee 530. Finance Committee recommends it 500. The motion is moved that the town transfer $110,000 from the Community Preservation Act Open Space Recreation Set Aside to the Hadley Parks and Recreation for a fitness park for Zaturka Park. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. This is a CPA article. Anybody here from the CPA to speak to this? Yeah, somebody from Park, hang on, somebody from Park and Rec, are you from, Joe, are you from the CPA? You want to speak? So do you want to speak relative to the CPA? Yes. All right, hang on.
First of all, if you look at the
Excuse me, sir, I need your name and address.
Joe Zagrodnik, 5 Meadowbrook Drive.
Thank you.
Member, CPA Committee. First of all, I'd like to address the vote. It was 5-3. There were two votes that were voted for the recommendation. Both these members were the presenters. I think it's inappropriate for someone Park and Rec to present something before a committee, then have two of their Park and Rec members who sit on the CPA committee vote in favor of something like that. At least they should recuse themselves. So that's point number one. Point number two, Zaterka Park is the park that doesn't keep giving, it keeps asking. About 4 or 5 years ago, it was indicated that was going to be a venue for outdoor concerts. Supposedly they wanted 200, 250 people there. But there was not enough parking. So that was put aside, so they had some monies were expended for that. Then there was a basketball court proposed. Asking for money, no basketball court was proposed. Then there was a pavilion that was proposed. Asking for money, that was not built. Then all of a sudden they realized they did not have parking at all, so they had to put parking in. Once they put parking in, there was a drainage issue. Then they came back for more money to put retention ponds in. Now they want to put this fitness facility in. Oh, by the way, all these numbers added up close to $300,000 that the town has already expended on Zaterka Park. Now they want to put a new fitness center. This fitness center is not your slippery slide and jungle gyms for kids. This is for adults. This is for something you will see at Venice Beach in Los Angeles. And it's going to be located at the foothill of where the kids slide. In fact, if there was any activity that I've ever seen at Zaterka Park, there was the 2 snow days that the kids had, and this would kind of preclude the ability for them to slide down the hill. So that was one of the proposals. The overall placement of this thing was even in question at the Park and Rec Committee. They wanted to do it at the North Hadley Fire Station, and then all of a sudden they decided on Zaterka Park because it needs something. Probably a more appropriate place would be here, because we're going to expand the ball fields, and this is more appropriate for junior high and high school kids, or whether it's gym, so it can be used jointly by the school and by the Park and Rec, by the townspeople. So I would vote and urge a no vote on this particular article.
And time, please. You're running. If you want to talk, I'll let you back again, Joe. All right?
Okay. And one final point. I don't think, under the rules and regulations of CPA, and Randy, you sat on the committee, that any fixtures, something that is fixed, like bleachers that are fixed, are not allowed under CPA regulations from the state.
Okay, we'll get to that. All right. So, is there somebody here from Park and Rec that wants to present? Please. Yes, this one. This. Yes, if you stay out of the.
Can everyone hear me? My name is Jenny Benas. I'm the Park and Rec Director. I appreciate the previous speaker's comments. However, he wasn't speaking to the actual project. He was just giving his opinion. The fitness court would be placed in an area at Zaterka Park that would be appropriate and not in the way of kids sliding down the hill. It is a 40 by 40 fitness court, self-contained with 7 stations for working out. It is fit for children 14 and older, and then for adults. We received a $30,000 grant, and we're just seeking the remainder of the money from the CPA. I have a handout in your packets that explains the rest of it. The 2 Park and Recreation people that he speaks of on the committee, it wasn't 2 at the same time. It was 1 and then 1 standing in for the other. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. It's not a fixed structure. It's a cement laid slab, and then the structure goes on top of it. If we did put it at the school, it would not be available to the public between the hours of the school. So if kids were in session, people from the community could not use it. That is why we chose the Zaterka Park.
You all set?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, we got several people with questions, so bear with us, we'll get to you.
Sharon Parsons, 137 Mill Valley. Nothing is free. So obviously, this will require town budget monies down the road, and I would like to know what that would be. Are we hiring someone who is going to be there to facilitate physical fitness? What's the maintenance cost of it? Just putting something there doesn't prevent us from having to spend more money.
You can respond to that.
The maintenance on the court is very little, actually. We would just need to keep it free of debris. The snow during the winter, you would very rarely be working out outside during the winter. As far as keeping up costs on it, there's very little cost on it. I have a booklet I can show you. We didn't put them out today because of COVID. You can actually read the directions right on the court on how to use it, and there is an app to download that you could follow the exercise routine right on the app. I'd be happy to share the website with you or give you a little more information. I have a poster over there on the fence as well.
I would still like to know a number because it does say a physical fitness person would be available on the description.
There is a program to train people, so we could bring in trainers and we could train them, or we could train town residents.
And that would cost?
It's a program free from the company, from the National Fitness Campaign.
And people would volunteer?
If they would like to, yes. Or Park and Rec could train people and then put the program back out there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we gotta get to a microphone. Okay. Okay, bear with me, folks. It's going to take a little bit longer than normal, but just keep standing up and I'll get to you. Can't hear you. Now we definitely can't.
Martha Iser, 2 Autumn View Drive. I'm just wondering, would the town be liable if someone got hurt on this fitness equipment?
It would be used at your own risk.
Okay. Hold on, Jimmy. Back there's 2 people close to each other. Then I'll get to you. 3 people.
Tina Friedman, 16 Barstow Lane. You mentioned a cement slab. Does that mean you are Does that mean you're taking grass and paving it over with cement? And how much grass is going to be paved over with cement?
It would be a 40 by 40 foot area that we've already planned out.
Dan Cole, 25 West Street. I'm questioning how many people are actually going to use this, given that it's not going to be available during the cold weather months. And people that, most younger people are probably going to be working during that time. And most older people probably aren't going to be able to do it anyway. So that's my point.
Thank you. One more, Jimmy, then you're up.
Hello, I'm Nancy Vanman Boyle, 17 High Meadow Road, and I go by that park every single day on my walk from my house down to 47th. And I have seen children playing there. It is a gem of a little park. And I've also seen older people given the opportunity of the shade of that park to be able to walk that asphalt walk safely with canes, with walkers, and I think we should invest in our community. And the options that fitness structure would give us, more options for exercise, I think is a great idea. I just wanted to speak for that park, and believe it or not, it is used a lot. So, that's my thought.
Thank you.
Jim X. Moss, Jim Maximowski, 12 Millwater Drive. You said the liability is that you use at your own risk. Could town council verify that there is such a thing? That the town would not be liable if somebody got hurt?
Town council will answer the question. That's fine.
Moderator, can you hear me? Just wait to see if this switches. Moderator.
No, I definitely wasn't.
Hello?
Barely hear you.
Mr. Moderator, Joel Bard, Town Council. There's a state law that says that when municipalities have recreational equipment, whether it's the facility you're talking about, basketball court, ball field, if there's no charge for the use of that facility, the only liability is for gross negligence, which is a very high standard. So the liability for the use of this facility would be the same as for any other town facility.
Thank you. Did everybody hear that?
Can you repeat it, please?
Okay, so what he said was, if there's no charge to use the facility, the only potential liability would be gross negligence, and he said that's very difficult to prove. Is that correct, Mr. Bard? Thank you. Okay, got one here, then we'll get to you.
Adriana Sarsinski, 14 East Common Drive. I wish to know what kind of professionals were involved in the design. From a design point of view, the refraction of the heat that the concrete has is gigantic. So I don't see in a day like this anyone being able to use that park. Would be absolutely impossible to use due to the refraction of the concrete. And the way it looks, it reminds me more New York and a huge city than something being located here in Hadley. And I don't see that that those concrete things are functional in any way. They are hard. If someone fails, it's going to be a high risk to have a serious accident, especially elders. So I don't think it's functional at all from the design point of view.
Thank you. Okay.
Once again, Joseph Rodnick, 5 Meadowbrook Drive, CPA Committee. We've heard the promise from the Park and Rec Department that they would be in charge of maintenance. Well, a year ago, the grass was about 4 feet high, and they promised to maintain the facilities. Well, they said then the town Department of Public Works would maintain it. Well, evidently the grass was so high, you couldn't mow it. So they had to bring in an independent contractor to kind of mow the grass, take it away, trim the hill again. So from the point of view of maintenance, I think we were told something that wasn't quite true. And the other point is the cement is certainly going to add to the drainage runoff potential. The 2 detention ponds there are already in overflowing capacity, so would we have to do more study to see what effect? Well, I'm not sure. And the third situation is, an old professor told me, anecdotal information is not scientific fact. I drive by that just about every day. Hardly ever do I see people there or a car parked. The only time that there was really significant activity was, like I said, in the 2 snowstorms.
Thank you. Right there, Gage. They're working their way forward.
Mark Dunn, 13 Highland Circle. I just wondered if there was a study about demographics, who would use it, and if they're located nearby it, if this is an ideal location you know, how many people could walk there, how many would have to drive there? Any studies like that?
There is one in Burlington, Mass, which is a little bit different of an area because it's outside of Boston. I did have a conversation with their park and recreation director. Their court is about a year old, and they have heavy foot traffic in theirs. I did do a poll here in Hadley, and 85% of the people polled said that they would use the fitness court if we did put it in.
Anybody else? Mr. Phil?
Yes, I'll get you next. David Phil, 39 Knightley Road. Zaturka Park's a great location. I think we are focusing on new things rather than finishing what we already started. There's a spot there that you'll see bark mulch for a playground. There is no playground currently. We've got a lot of other work that needs to be done, and then taking away 40 by 40 feet of grass space, in my opinion, is not a good option when we already have drainage retention ponds there, paved sidewalks. There's not going to be a whole lot of room left there. The other issue is, as the DPW liaison, it was recommended that our insurance company come in and take a look at the park, inspect it, and say, yes, this is good to go or not, something that they typically do. As far as I know, that hasn't happened yet. And there was supposed to be signs put up saying use the park at your own risk because it's technically not finished yet, and that also hasn't happened yet. So I think that focusing on grants maybe for a playground, focusing on finishing those things we've already started first would be a better option than this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Jessica Kim, 35 West Street. I just want to echo a previous speaker who was excited about this as a new possible community resource. I think lots of us are trying to figure out how to exercise outside now because it's the only way to do it. And having a site with equipment that's ready for us, I think, is an interesting opportunity for this town. Personally, I ride my bike past that park often, and it would be a great place to stop and do a workout and continue on my way. I see lots of other town residents out for runs. The bike path is like a traffic nightmare, which is wonderful, and this is another way that our town can have a center where people can use a shared resource together, get some exercise, and I think this is really exciting. I think others feel the same way.
Thank you. Anybody else? Gage? Here first, please. No.
Jonah Berger, 21 Norwood Drive. I was just wondering if there's any study if we use the existing walkway and had exercise circuit stations and compared that to the proposal as it stands today, if there was a preference one way or the other.
There's not a study on that.
Dan Cole, 25 West Street again. I was just wondering if there's any competitive bidding or other vendors considered when this thing was initially proposed.
No, the grant was something that I applied for, and when I received it, that's when I went forward with that.
Okay.
Hi, Mike Sarzinski, 14 East Street Commons. Just curious if this facility would be limited to Hadley residents, or can anyone in Hampshire County, or for that matter, any place, use it?
It is a public park, so it would be open to anyone.
Okay, hang on, George.
Lisa Wolf, 110 Middle Street. So your point is well taken about a central place for people to exercise outside, especially with COVID and we can't go to gyms. Who's going to be responsible for cleaning that equipment between uses?
I think just like with anything, people would have to be responsible and wipe it down and be respectful of others.
Okay, Shell, do you want to speak?
Shel Horowitz, 16 Barstow Lane. I'm wondering if you have talked with the owners of any of the commercial fitness centers, Pilates place right across the street here. There are probably 4 or 5 of them in town, and I wonder what they think of this.
I have not. This is something different and new that I thought would be good for Hadley and to be different and have something that other places don't have.
Joyce?
I'd like to move the question.
Okay, we have a motion to move the question. And we have a second. Any discussion on moving the question? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your cards. On favor of moving the question, yes. Okay, thank you. Any opposed of moving the question? You don't have a card, you can't vote. Thank you. Okay. Motion passes 111 to 5. So the question is moved. Now we're going to vote on the question. So we're going to vote on transferring $110,000 from the Community Preservation Act for this fitness equipment at Zaterka Park. All those in favor signify by raising your card. Thank you. All those opposed? Okay, motion fails 90 to 26. Or 90 against 26 for. Article 16, Community Preservation Act article, Elementary School Pavilion. Community Preservation Committee voted in favor 8-0-0, Finance Committee in favor 5-0-0. Move that the town transfer $6,000 from the Community Preservation Act Open Space/Recreation Set Aside to the Hadley Department of Parks and Recreation for electrical service and picnic tables for the Hadley Elementary School Pavilion. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Anybody from CPA to speak to this? Okay, come right up. I don't know who you are. Tim Nyhard. Good disguise. Please.
Tim Nyhart, your former building commissioner. I live at 16 Kosher Drive.
You got some magnetic situation going on there.
As you might have seen, the pavilion is up at the elementary school. That was installed by Community Health and a lot of volunteers. Unfortunately, what happened for us was that the metal tariffs played a significant role in the metal roof. And we elected to go ahead and put the metal roof on and come back to you to ask for a little bit of money to finish up the electrical. The electrical is there, but we don't have the lights installed. That installation will be done by volunteers, but we don't have the money to purchase the lighting. At the same time, we said, well, it's not a lot of money. We're only talking about $1,200 for all the lighting and everything we wanted to do there to finish it up. We felt that it would be a good time to also come to you and say, hey, let's get some picnic tables in there. So we looked into that.
Does somebody have to?
trying to get some picnic tables. So that's what that article's about. Picnic tables and finish up the electrical at the pavilion at the elementary school.
Thank you, sir. We're all getting feedback here. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by raising your card. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes 115 to 1. Article 17 is a Community Preservation Act article. This is to do with a library window from the old Hooker School. Community Preservation Act Committee recommends 701. Finance Committee recommends 500. The motion is move that the town transfer $2,250 from the Community Preservation Act historical set-aside to the Goodwin Library Board of Trustees for the public purposes of preservation and display in the new library of the round window and metal brackets of the Hooker Elementary School. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? And a second. Mr. Moskin, I believe, is going to present this. Where is he? There he is. Come on up here, please. Do you need props?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The props are behind the moderator. That's the old 100-year-old window that was up in the peak of the Hooker School, above the front door. And those two iron brackets were holding up the little roof on the side, the south side of the Hooker School. So we, library trustee, I'm a library trustee, David Moskin, 83 Rocky Hill Road. So those are about the two only nice design art, elements from the Hooker School. And we were able to preserve them at no expense to the town. We were able to get quotes on refinishing them at no expense to the town. Now we'd like to give the window to a window preservationist up in Greenfield, who is one of the state leading, all he does is conserve antique windows. And we're just going to sandblast and repaint the iron brackets. We thought about leaving them as they are with the original patina, but they are rusty. It's probably lead paint. So our suggestion is that we refinish the iron brackets. So we're just looking for the money just to cover costs of restoring these two things and putting them into the new public library with a little bit of display about the Hooker School, interpretive display about the history of the Hooker School and the items themselves. The window is really interesting. It's made of like 100 pieces of wood, 1921, so it's 99 years old. All right, that's all I have to say. If there are any questions, thank you for your support. I think they'll look really cool in the new library, and a nice reminder to the young people about the Hooker School, which we're all sad to see go.
Stay there, David, just in case anybody has a question. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? Way in the back. Microphone is coming.
George Machoka, 2 River Drive. Do we have do you know like an antique value of that window at this point?
Was your question, do we have a value?
Yeah, as an antique. Do you know what the value is?
Oh, so is there a value as an antique?
We have not considered selling the window or the brackets. There's been no interest in looking at its value as an item to be sold off. So I can't help you.
Okay, another question. Other than being 100 years old, is there any historical significance to that window?
Yes, it was in our Hooker School for 100 years. So if you have any interest in the town of Hadley and you think the young people growing up in the town of Hadley should remember what was here before, that I would say that's its historic value.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none? All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes 114 to 2. Article 18 is another CPA article, something to do with water testing. Move that the town transfer $1,500 from the Community Preservation Act General Fund to the Hadley Health Department for water testing for public safety and all incidental and related expenses. Said expenditures to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act funds by that date. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Anybody want to speak to this? Okay, we have somebody willing to speak to this. I assume that that's Paulette? Thank you.
Paulette Kosteba, 40 Knightley Road. I'm a member of the Community Preservation Committee. This money was, or is, for testing of water bodies that the public uses. We have a public boat ramp up at North Hadley Pond, and per the regulations of the state, it's supposed to be tested. Money was not put into the Board of Health's budget this past year for it, so the committee is asking, or voted for it to go in for this year, and it should be something that the Board of Health takes on in the future.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding this article? Okay, we got 2 people over here. And you. Okay.
Anthony Biden, Cold Spring Lane. I was just curious as to why the Board of Health didn't take this on. It seems like a Board of Health expense and not a Community Preservation Act. So I'm not sure why, as the previous speaker just said, why this wasn't handled by the Health Department.
Okay, I understand the question. Anybody want to answer that? Do we know the answer to that? Is anybody from the Board of Health here? No. Okay. Nobody. You don't want to. We don't understand why that's not. Why they're asking. Okay. She can help us. Microphone right here, please.
Ginger Goldsberry, 245 River Drive. I'm the treasurer of the Friends of Lake Warner. And from the time we took on ownership of the dam, we did the testing of the lake for things like E. coli, cyanobacteria, things that could actually hurt other people. So we have for a while got money from the town, from CPA, but you can't, it's not an ongoing. CPA doesn't give ongoing money, doesn't give money for ongoing projects. And this is something that has to be done every year, regularly. So we went to the Board of Health. The Board of Health was very willing to take it on. And it is, as Paulette stated, it's a state mandate. And they would like to take it on, but the town didn't put the money in their budget for a reason I don't know for sure. But they did ask, and it was denied.
Okay, thank you.
And we can't, we don't have, the Friends of Lake Warner don't have the money in our budget. And we would, so, that's
Okay.
the answer.
Can anybody from Finance Committee verify that there was a discussion about this between the Board of Health and the Finance Committee? Okay. Mr. Nixon will speak.
So my understanding is that the Board of Health, what we had we passed pretty much everything the Board of Health asked. So it wasn't put in the budget this time. We didn't want to, we knew it was going into CPA, so it didn't get put in. But it was the understanding that afterwards it would be moved over, the Board of Health would put it into their budget. That's my understanding. But we didn't deny them.
Okay, so it sounds to me like this should be the last time, based on what I'm hearing. Any other questions? Okay, we got two.
Yeah, Jonah Berger, 21 Norwalk Drive. Just to kind of reiterate what's been said, but say it my own way, I guess. This doesn't seem like it's a valid use of CPA fund. Is this a recurring expense? It's not that I'm against testing. I'm very much for testing our water and making sure that it's safe for us all to use, especially for recreational locations that we've invested in as a town. But we need to find a valid funding source for this.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jean Baxter. My daughter, Emma
Address,
Dragon,
please.
35 Stockwell Road.
Thank you.
My daughter, Emma Dragon, is on the Board of Health and is not able to be here. She did relate to me the discussions that are identical with Paulette's experience and Ginger's and the Finance Committee, that there was not money available in the Board of Health budget this year, that Finance agreed that taking it from CPA was the best route this year, and that in the future it should come from the Board of Health budget. So I can just confirm that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Amy.
So I just wanted to let you know, so on the, if you're looking at the recommendations, so the recommendations were, there was 2 against. I was one of them that was against this because it was a reoccurring expense, and I did feel like it should come out of the regular budget. But I do feel like it's a, right now at this point, I would recommend this article because it's something that's needed, and we have, you know, we have to test it, and then for the future, we will move to take it out of the regular budget.
Just to be clear, Amy's on the CPA committee as well as the Finance Committee. Anybody else? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by raising your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes 112 to 4. Article 19, another CPA article, Library Elevator Study. Community Preservation Act Committee recommends 800, Finance Committee recommends 500. Move that the town transfer $25,000 from the Community Preservation Act Historic Set Aside to the Municipal Building Committee for an elevator design study for the Goodwin Memorial Library building and all incidental and related expenses associated therewith. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? A motion and a second. Who would like to speak to this? Mr. Nyhart. Couldn't fool me this time, Tim. It couldn't fool me this time. I knew who you were.
Tim Nyhart, 16 Crozier Drive. I'm on the Municipal Building Committee. So, now that the library's leaving Goodwin, we as a committee have been looking at what to do with the building. We certainly need space. We need space for meetings. We also need space for a couple of the departments. So, we have a on-call consultant, an architectural firm that we've been working with. He has interviewed and consulted with some of the departments, and we have figured out what departments would be best to go into the Goodwin after the library vacates. In order to actually utilize that building to its fullest, we need to make it accessible. So the first step is to get some money to get a design work done. Now, many, many years ago, there was a little bit of a design proposal to put on what we'll call the North Tower. That would have elevator, accessible stairs, and accessible bathrooms. That's what we're looking to do. That will give us the ability to use all 3 floors. Right now, the only floor that's accessible is the first floor, but unfortunately, there's no bathrooms to go to because they're down in the basement and they're not very accessible. So this is the first thing, and what we're going to try to do, we'll be doing this in phases, and the next article is actually for getting the people in right now. But we will be coming back to you using, and hopefully using, CPA funding to construct the addition. And that'll give us the entire use of that building. So really, if we don't do this, the building sits, and we don't know what we're going to do with it, like the other 2 that we now have sitting. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'll get them. Thank you. Hang there, Tim, just in case. Christian wants to speak. Christian Stanley wants to speak, so let's clean the microphone. Hang on, Christian.
I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Tim said, but I wanted to speak real quickly to this article and the next one because I feel like this is a really good option for the town. We're asking for CPA money that we've already spent basically and paid for as taxpayers to make another building in town usable for town functions. And the goal of this entire project is to make it a truly accessible building for us to meet in, to have town offices in, and to use as a town. I just would hate to see the library go in the direction of North Hadley Hall and the Hooker School and the Russell School, which are now, we've sold North Hadley Hall. The Russell School needs millions, tens of millions of dollars of work to bring it back to a usable space. This is something we can do for a reasonable amount of money in CPA and really convert that building into something. So I would really just encourage you to vote for this because it's something that's really good for us as a town to preserve that building.
Thank you. I don't know if I mentioned, but CPA committee recommends 800, Finance committee recommends 500. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving right along to Article 20. CPA article, library conversion. Community Preservation Act Committee recommends 800, Finance Committee recommends 500. Move that the town transfer $226,093 from the Community Preservation Act General Fund to the Hadley Select Board for the renovation of the Goodwin Memorial Library building into town offices. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Who would like to speak to this? Okay, Tim.
So the Municipal Building Committee has taken quite a number of hours in. Can you stand closer to the microphone, please? Municipal Building Committee has.
Get closer, Tim. I don't think it's feedback right now. Get closer to the mic.
Even closer now?
Yeah.
Now it's not going to yell at me?
I don't think so.
So the Municipal Building Committee has spent hours with our consultant to try to figure out what's needed to get everybody in that we are looking at. We're looking at the planning board and the park and rec. and to use the first floor area as a meeting hall. So, when we looked at the building, of course, being so old, there's some real serious problems with it. Most of it's electrical because it still has knob and tube. That has turned out to be a huge problem. It's going to cost us some money to actually go back all the way to the pole outside to change everything around to make it safe. So that's one of the major things that we're going to be doing to the building, getting safe electrical in there. Again, we talked about bathrooms. For the time being, until we vote on the North Tower, we're going to put in a temporary bathroom on the first floor that's accessible, and that way the entire first floor can be utilized properly. So this is the first step of the three-phase steps to actually get that building back in total use. And like Christian said, quite honestly, the building is in great shape compared to our other ones. There's not much really that we need to do other than the utilities, and we're going to have a very good functioning building with 3 floors. So I really urge you to pass this. Again, it's CPA money, and it's there. Let's use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. All right, anybody have any questions regarding this article? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes 112 to 4. Article 21 is the last CPA article, and it's relative to map preservation. This is recommended by the CPA committee and the finance committee, all in favor. Motion 21, move that the town transfer $4,200 from the Community Preservation Act Historical Set Aside to the Hadley Historical Commission for the preservation of 2 1740 maps of the town of Hadley, Massachusetts. Said expenditure to be conducted within 2 years of the date of town meeting approval, or unspent funds will automatically be returned to the appropriate Community Preservation Act fund by that date. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Who wants to speak to this? Mr. Moskin. Make it short and sweet if you can. I'm hearing...
Dave Moskin, 83 Rocky Hill Road. Andy Morris Friedman, chairman of the CPA committee, took this project on a couple of years ago. Did you guys know we had 2 deerskin maps of the town of Hadley from 1740? I didn't. And I don't know if Tim or Joe on the planning board. Anyway, it came to the attention that we have these 2 deerskin maps, almost 300 years old, that were sitting in a drawer. And he took them up to the Williamstown Art Conservation Center, like the best in the business in the area. And they need $4,250 to preserve these 2 deerskin maps. And I haven't seen them, but that's basically the story. It sounds like a cool project to me.
Thank you. Any questions on this?
I probably don't know too many answers.
Yeah, let's ask the question.
Jonah Berger, 21 Norwater Drive. What are we planning on doing with the maps once we preserve them?
They will be stored safely, properly somewhere. They're looking into displaying them, but Andy sent me a note that it would be almost $15,000 to properly put them in the kind of mounting where they could be displayed. We thought about putting them in the new library, so that's yet to be determined.
What's that?
Right, they'd be available for study and for photography and that kind of stuff. The main thing is they were not properly conserved up to now, so they're deteriorating. So we're trying to save them.
Thank you. Any other questions? Stay. Stay. Or go.
Rick Thayer, 179 Hockanum Road. Just as part of this preservation, will proper photography be taken of the 2 images? I mean, you don't want to be taking photographs all the time of these old things, so. What, the answer is it will be?
Hey, you can just hang on, David. Christian's got it.
So according to Andy, we can't really display the actual maps because the sun will deteriorate them. So the best place to preserve them is in a drawer like they were stored, but this company is going to preserve them. But I think we were hoping that maybe there would be somebody that would want to volunteer. If they're a photographer, knew how to take photos of something like that, we could maybe create a fundraiser or something to take photos of the maps that are proper photos and then display the photos in the library.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Oh, okay. He's over where? Mr. Carey is here. Okay, our state rep Dan Carey is here. He snuck in after we started the meeting. We'd like to acknowledge his presence. Thank you for coming, sir. Okay, Article 22 is a planning board article. This is a zoning bylaw. It's going to require, a zoning bylaw change is going to require 2/3 majority. And the motion is, move that the town amend the zoning bylaws as delineated in Article 22 of the warrant of the annual town meeting held on June 20, 2020 and incorporated by reference herein, and to authorize the town clerk to make any non-substantive formatting changes if necessary for consistency purposes. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second. Mr. Maximowski, please.
Jim Maximowski, 12 Norwood Drive, Chairman of the Planning Board. Basically what this article does, currently parking requirements are 2 square feet of parking for each square foot of building in the town of Hadley. In a business zone and most of the zones right now, that all makes sense. In the industrial zone, it's occurred several times in the past where an industrial development has been proposed, and 2 square feet of parking for each square foot of building is usually far in excess of what they require. We have been using reserve parking. In other words, they have, I'll use the company about 10 years ago came in. It was from Amherst. They made medical instruments. They wanted to put up a 40,000 square foot building. It required 80,000 square feet of parking. When you get through with all the green space, et cetera, they would need about 5 acres to put their parcel on. They had the room, that was okay. However, the 40,000 square feet of parking, they only needed about 10 for the cars and because they had virtually no customers, and that's typical of an industrial facility. This will allow, we also have transfer of development rights. The transfer of development rights is limited in how much space we can reduce the parking. And this will allow the details are in the article. I don't want to go through the details because they're kind of cumbersome and get confusing. However, the bottom line here is we're trying to get a larger, not so much a larger building, but more tax-paying buildings on industrial land. This article limits the reduction in parking only to industrial buildings, only to the industrial zone. They cannot be used for business thereafter. It's just going to be a limit of what they can be used for. We're trying to get more tax base in the town on industrial land. We don't have a lot of industrial land, but we're trying to get as much as we can out of what we have.
Thanks, sir. Any questions?
The planning board recommends this article unanimously 5-0.
Okay. I see nobody has any questions. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Article 23 is a planning board item. Housing Trust Fund for the general bylaw. This requires a majority vote only. Let me find. Yeah, page 10. Where'd it go? I don't have the motion. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 55C, and to establish a trust fund known as the Hadley Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which purpose shall be to provide for the preservation and creation of affordable housing in the town of Hadley for the benefit of low and moderate income households, and further, to amend the general bylaws of the town by inserting a new Chapter 87 to be entitled Hadley Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Probably. Okay, now I have the real motion. Let's start again. Move that the town amend the general bylaws as delineated in Article 23 of the warrant of the annual town meeting held on June 20, 2020, and incorporated by reference herein, and that the town clerk may make formatting and numbering changes as necessary to preserve consistency of the general bylaws. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second. Mr. Maximowski.
This is not a zoning article, so the planning board obviously has no formal recommendation. We are in favor of this 5-0. A little bit of history on this. Way back when the inclusionary zoning was adopted, it's a zoning bylaw by the town about, I'd say, good 10 years ago, there was a feature in that article that allowed us to create an affordable housing trust. However, at the time of town meeting, the Finance Committee raised the question, the way the Housing Trust Fund was worded, that the trustees of this trust fund could borrow without authorization and put the town in debt. Obviously, we don't want that. The planning board has struggled through the year, but how do we address that? This article addresses that in that it plainly limits within the article, limits of what the trustees can borrow to like between $5,000 and $10,000 without selectmen's or town meeting approval. So the issue of spending money that putting the town in debt or even spending a lot of money out of this trust fund is addressed. This will allow, this housing trust fund is exactly what it does. It takes donations when somebody wants to put in a subdivision, and they would contribute money to this fund. That fund could be used by the trustees to promote affordable housing within the town, and there's a whole different range of what that could be used for. It also would allow, there's a housing trust, or not a housing fund in the CPA, and the CPA has money in there, and it would allow the trustees of this housing trust could use some of that money for similar purposes. Now, the rules between the two funds are a little bit differently, so I don't want to get into that. But there would be trustees of this fund. There would be basically one member of the select board, at least one member of the planning board, and other members of the town at large. Right now, we have some money through a complicated matter. There's about $350,000 sitting in a account in Amherst that belongs to Hadley. However, we have no way of taking that money and putting it into the Hadley. We don't have a trust fund, so we can't really use it for a whole lot. One of the things we want to do right away is get this trust fund adopted. That $350,000, give or take a few dollars, would now come into Hadley and could be gaining interest in Hadley's account, this fund, until something is determined what to appropriately use it for.
Thank you. Any questions on this article? Yes, sir.
Anthony Fiden, Cold Spring Lane. 5 Cold Spring Lane. My concern with this is that it seems like we're creating an authority with, I don't see the oversight. It's not an elected, I know there are elected members on this, but it seems like there will be an authority here with a lot of power to spend, power to promote, with, once it's formed, it doesn't seem like there's oversight by the public. I think it's a mistake. There may be other ways to use that money that's in Amherst. I think we need to be creative and use that money, but to create an authority that's unelected and unclear on the oversight